Warriors. You know, Asus Rogue is who owns Rogue Warriors.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
That is true.
For context, is Asus ROG?
Oh, it's ROG?
ROG, Republic of Gamers.
Huh. I mean, I knew it was Republic of Gamers. I just
Hashtag ad, I guess,
yeah.
at this point.
I didn't know that there was a correct way to say an acronym.
Well, phonetically, generally
I mean,
speaking.
I guess true, but hey, phonetically is different in every language, so I guess it is an English acronym.
It's like
so.
LGD, I don't randomly decide the way I want to say those letters. I just say the letters, you know.
That's true.
But technically, LGD is an initialism, not an acronym. It's only an acronym if you turn it into a word, whereas if you say the 3 letters individually, it's an initialism. So you learn something new every day, ladies and gentlemen. Bard going to be banned away from Mark here, as is the Thresh from lane.
Ooh, and yep, I would like to just see the Nautilus once again, but it would have been interesting, especially call back to the earlier series where we did see the Tahm Kench come out, especially up against an Ashe and a Tahm Kench. We saw up against WE how much problems LNG gave them with Tahm Kench, but instead wanting to keep Mark on a champion where early on in the game, he was hitting every single dredge line.
Yeah, Mark looked amazing in lane. Wuji also looked really terrible in regards to those dredge lines as he was hitting it every single time. But late goes onto this Braum, so going to be playing protection, but once again, this Ashe Braum lane is exceptionally strong in the lane phase.
Yeah, the thing that I would have liked to see is the fact that we don't actually have any engage coming out from late this time around, which, let's be fair, there are now 3 support bans, so not really many engage options left. It's going to do incredibly well in the laning phase, but you're really going to rely on LGD playing into you, which is obviously what a Nautilus signals, but doesn't give you a lot of proactive tools to start fights on your own merit.
And it is going to be Holder locking that one in the end. LGD now have to pick their top laner, and we already talked about the fact that this Ornn and this Renekton are the top 2 for Longxing. The rest, he's played a lot of different picks. He's played all kinds of things in the top lane, so honestly, who knows where he'll go. It's the Kennen, so another unique pick for Longxing here. This is the second time we've seen Kennen in 2 days.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see, too. And, of course, you know, if you were watching this matchup the other day, Kennen wins it extremely hard. Remember, we saw the Kennen solo diving the Wukong, so there is a lot of potential there for, you know, solo kills for Longxing. And even more so compounded by the fact that Xie has the Destiny and can play towards both sides of the lane. But let's also remember that Wu Ming also does have the global ultimate to follow up.
So we're going to see, once again, this mid lane between Twisted Fate and Galio, which is really becoming a staple mid lane matchup, honestly, in the LPL, where we have both teams essentially just handshake the mid lane and say, we're not going to fight anymore, we're going elsewhere on the map. And we have 2 AD carries that want to set up for exactly that style of play. So it wouldn't surprise me to see both of these teams focusing in towards the bottom side of the map to start.
Yeah, and we typically see this matchup snowball very hard in one way, in the sense that, like, if because Twisted Fate's typically the one that will find, like, the proactive play in the proactive roam. I guess it depends on jungle matchup as well. Then, you know, that team can usually break away very far ahead. And it really comes down to if Galio can find a very impactful ultimate, right? If Galio finds an ultimate, doesn't get a knockup, doesn't land a taunt, does typically feel like the Twisted Fate team going to come out ahead because Galio is so reliant on, you know, just using those CCs to set up for his team.
We'll see how proactive these 2 mid laners are going to be, and we'll see if LGD can just pull themselves together, honestly, after game number 1. You were talking about momentum for teams earlier on today, and LGD, I don't know, man, that first game really didn't look convincing. It was great in the early game, but then they just seemed to stop talking to one another during the game. They seemed to stop communicating and were not willing to pull the trigger on the fight. Rogue Warriors, however, every single time they saw an opportunity, they grab it with both hands and hold on for dear life.
And once again, looking at LGD's comp, it definitely feels like it needs to get things going in the early game and then, you know, keep that momentum up to where Rogue Warriors do have a bit of leeway to play with in terms of they definitely have great scaling. We already talked about how that Braum is going to neutralize. Oh, uses the clone quite well.
And that will have been a last-second level up on the clone as well. There's no way he wanted to start clone. Or is there, actually? I guess in a Kennen matchup you could.
Yeah, I mean, I've only really seen Wukong start E level 1, so... Ooh, and Colonel is all LGD.
He is, but it's only by a %.
It also surprised me because I definitely favor Rogue Warriors in scaling.
Yeah, actually, it's by 3%. I can't count.
See?
And I was criticizing your education.
Yes, you were. I counted to 6.
So one thing that I discussed yesterday with Dagda was the power of Kennen skins. and the fact that we had a Surgeon Cannon skin yesterday, which is, you know, not that good of a skin. And so if you are running Surgeon Cannon, you're probably an old school player, has a lot of experience on Cannon. Whereas now, Langxing, someone we know is an old school player, has experience on Cannon, is actually going to be running the superhero skin, which is definitely a power skin. And you can take from that what you will, Lyric.
I will take absolutely nothing as we watch Xie trade with Wuming in the mid lane.
Well, that's just rude, frankly. Mark is the one under pressure this time around.
Though, speaking of pressure, we have Haro.
Hang on. Peanut forced out of his own jungle here by Haro.
Oh, jeez.
Hang on, Peanut. You can try and start the fight again. I don't think it's going to go any differently this time around. But Peanut really wants these wolves. He really wants Xie to come and help him out. Xie is forced underneath his own tower.
Yeah, and instead Haro going to go straight towards his topside jungle. I mean, obviously, Peanut's going to end up there as well since he was already full clearing his bottom side. He's going to help guarantee some priority for Wuming, so it's going to make it much safer to just walk through.
We've got a big old fight here. Lei's in trouble, but Wuji steps forward to get some DPS down onto Mark as well. Once again, Mark landing absolutely everything as soon as someone comes near.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, going towards win conditions, obviously for the side of Rogue Warriors, we don't really expect to see too much early on, right? They have a very level 6 oriented composition, even more so about scaling, I'd say, after that. They don't have a great way of locking Langxing down in the top lane, so despite Cannon being so far pushed, I feel like he should be able to get away pretty scot-free with Holder having no real good CC in there either.
So Haro going to return to his jungle once more here, and you can see Peanut on your mini-map moving over towards the same part of the map here. We could have a bit of contention over this Scuttle Crab. Both mid laners going to be away from the play as they recalled, but actually TP here from Xie just to make sure that there's nothing here from Haro.
An important thing to note is if you look at the minimap, yep, there we go. Mark was already heading up. So LGD can force something here.
Yeah, Wuming is going to try and force the minion wave. Mark's on the side. Harrow's the target. Root comes up through an exhaust as well, but Harrow gets over the wall here. Wuming forced the flash.
Yeah, overall, Wuming did save Haro with that taunt, but Lady came in a bad position once Xie drew that gold card, so it does have to flash in the end. But now, since Rogue Warriors were 2 against 1 in the bot lane, they are able to follow up easily.
They're going to be able to get this second Scuttle Crab. So at least Rogue Warriors don't lose too much off the back. Everything considered here. And when you look at the CS between the junglers, it's just going to be 1 camp difference right now.
And I mean, both teams fighting over both Scuttle Crabs. Really interesting to see, and not going to end up being too much in the end.
It's kind of curious as well that we're seeing this from Rogue Warriors when game number 1, we saw a lot of action in the first 5 minutes, then it slowed down in a big way for a long time during that game. And Rogue Warriors were only making plays when they saw a gap in LGD strategy, essentially. They were like counterplaying LGD instead of being proactive, which is kind of the opposite of what we usually expect out of Rogue Warriors. This time around, again, we're seeing LGD starting these plays and Rogue Warriors answering.
This also very much goes to the compositions, to where we said Rogue Warriors are a lot more about level 6 and scaling, to where, as we can see with this play, LGD have more tools early on with a Lee Sin and a TF in the mid lane.
Holder knows he might be in trouble here. Gold card locked in. Sonic Wave is there as well. But Holder still has the Warrior Trickster with Harrow here. LGD know this is not a dive they can take.
Yeah, but still, Peanut has the option to just recall. We see all of his camps are up on the bottom half of the map, so he can just full clear towards the top side and look to go for that play once again. It would be obviously risky for the fact that there's a dragon up, so if Peanut commits to that, you pretty much have to accept that you are going to give up the dragon. It would have been nice had they gotten the dive onto Holder there, because then you can potentially force Holder to TP back to lane, have TP advantage for the dragon.
So we do have a bit of a reset towards the mid lane there. Wuming managed to get himself a recall off because he knew that Xie had to come in and would take a little while to force that next wave. So nice little miniature advantage that Wuming's found for himself there. And we'll get a CS lead off of the wave that's under the tower right now. In the meantime, Wuji and Lei, this is a massive freeze that they can build for themselves.
Yeah, but I'm more focused on the top side of the map, just for the sense that we just saw Holder use TP and Langxing is walking top side. So it can mean 2 things. Either Holder will push and rotate towards Dragon, which will obviously give them a numbers advantage in the sense that Langxing has to blow TP. Or if not, LGD can just start straight up, since Holder is still showing in the top side. So Holder didn't roam, so it does mean LGD are theoretically ones who have pressure on Dragon.
Yeah, and obviously we just talked about this huge freeze in the bottom lane for Wuji and Lei. Well, while there's a massive minion wave there, they can't actually leave that lane. So now the Dragon started up, Wuji's had to clear all of those minions away just so he's able to contest in any way.
Yeah, but luckily Holder did end up rotating over, so Rogue Warriors are the ones with pressure on the Dragon. Zhong Wuji pushing out that wave like you said, and it looks like LGD are just going to give this one up.
Let's bear in mind, Lingxing does have the teleport, and he's going to have his Slicing Maelstrom level 8, or level 6, sorry, up in that top lane. So ultimate's available for both teams here. Rogue Warriors, they want the fight though. Xie flashes out, just about gets away with it. That was a little bit close for comfort on the taunt though.
What I want to know is, if LGD look like they want to fight, because they were obviously posturing, they were obviously trying to buy time for Peanut to come back, why did Peanut go to clear his Raptors?
For the same reason that my solo queue jungle is going clear the Raptors.
Oh, God.
Because they just want another 4 CS.
Well,
that's the only explanation I have, I'm afraid. You're the analyst. I meant to ask you that, and you're meant to tell me. So, Lyric, why did Peanut go and clear his Raptors?
I mean, I did technically call him a bot before this game.
That's true.
Not for that reason, though. It just came out wrong. I'm just not good with words.
If there's one thing I'll say, hang on. Lei's going to get hooked up, and obviously the Unbreakable makes it very difficult to finish anyone off, but Wuji's going to have to tank some shots up here. And that is the power of this Ashe combo, but he did the ult a little bit late there.
He did like think about it, but I guess at first maybe they didn't realize how much damage it actually would do to Lei. They're like, oh God, this could kill him.
I mean, Lei only had like 300 health or something at the start of the ult, so I'm not surprised it was kill threat. But Wuji able to block the shots. I'm just a little disappointed that he waited until the 4th shot was about to come out before shooting his own ult, because now you just wasted your ult.
Again, I feel like they just underestimated how much damage that would do. I'm not quite sure how much like scrim time these teams would have playing, you know, up against the Jhin. So there definitely is this like period of feeling it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Harrow, in the meantime, though, started the Herald off on the top side of the map. Peanut is answering, but with Kramer still stuck on the bottom side clearing that wave, you can see Wuji is in the mid lane. So this is going to be gifted over to Rogue Warriors, and LGD realistically not in a position to contest this one on the map. But importantly, there's no towers being taken anywhere to answer for either.
I mean, that's what's massive to me is LGD did nothing in response. They just lost Herald for the sake of losing Herald. They didn't contest. They didn't posture to contest. They didn't like look for a dive or plays on the bot lane. It does go to the fact that Kramer had already wasted his ult in that last play, so it does become a bit harder to look for the repeat play. But at the same time, Rogue Warriors have the first Dragon. They have the Herald. We said we like how their composition looks scaling-wise up against what LGD have drafted. Like this, we might get a Rogue Warriors 2-0. They might be riding the momentum. Is it time, Lunchables? Is it time?
Oh, it might be, mate. It might just be. However, just to put some kind of hope in LGD fans' hearts here, they're 1,000 gold up. And sure, they lost one Drake here. Sure, they lost the Herald here. But they do have pretty good lane matchups here, especially with the Kennen in the top lane. You've still got Xie on the Twisted Fate. The score is still 0-0. We've got Peanut on the Lee Sin, which we know he can do mind-boggling things on. So I definitely wouldn't give up on LGD just yet.
So I'm not sure if so it looks like the Hawkshot didn't catch him out. It was shot in his direction, but it looks like it was only shot at Wolves. So they're not going to know for sure that Peanut's here, but I like that you were highlighting for LGD at least the top lane matchup. Even beyond laning phase, I feel like if LGD want to come out with a win, it's really going to take Longxing finding some kind of massive like team fight ultimate. A lot of Rogue Warriors comp just wants to like group up, clumped up together as well. So you have this potential. Kramer opens his ultimate, sets up for Mark and Longxing going in together, which could equal out to a win for LGD.
Nice little pickup in the mid lane here for Rogue Warriors as Moomin gets the gold. But yeah, I completely agree. When it comes to those team fights, Longxing certainly going to be one of the most influential factors, but also outside of just team fighting, LGD, as you rightly said right at the very start of the draft, they have a huge amount of pick potential. It does feel like they generally will lean towards that when push comes to shove, when they are backs against the ropes. And maybe not pick, but they're looking for a dive right now in the bottom lane.
And Wooming is not in position to look for an ult to follow up because that is why this Galio is here.
Nice from Wuji, though. Respect here in the bottom side. But this does mean that Kramer's going to be able to get at least one tower play. It's looking like it's probably going to be two as well. So the crit does come through, but the minions can't quite finish things off here. So it's only one tower play at the end of the day. And
if you haven't watched a lot of LGD this split, this is what LGD does. LGD is a very bot-centric team, which I'd say isn't too surprising when you think of like the names on this roster. Like even people like Longshing, right? Longshing is fine with no pressure. You have Kramer in the bot lane who loves to be with funneled gold into. They even factor in communication, right? Where Peanut and Kramer obviously both coming from Korea, so can even just communicate more efficiently in their own language.
But overall, across the map here, like bot lane ganks aside, in terms of turret plates, it's going the way of LGD. The Herald helped in the mid lane, but other than that, these side lanes are going very heavily LGD's way right now in terms of that gold. And that's where that 1,000 gold lead has come from. But the next Drake has spawned on the map. LGD.
Oh God, Peanut.
Yeah,
Peanut has flash.
He got spotted here, and Wooming has absolutely everything. Flash doesn't matter. Once that CC chain starts from Galio, you're going no.
I just love the thumbs up Teemo emote coming out from Lei. And you know, we're talking about the gold lead being in LG's favor, but when they're the ones who have the pressure on them to look for plays, that's not good enough. We do see a ping coming out right now on the top side, and this is where I would have loved to see Xie put a lot of his attention because, again, we've talked many times over, like since the Wukong rework, about how he doesn't do as well up against magic damage, obviously because his passive is a lot more about stacking up that armor. So if a TF and a Kennen are looking for this dive, you would feel like it'd be really tough for Holder to handle. Of course, he does have the Hex Drinker now.
But unfortunately, we did not see that. We did not see Xie moving to the top side. He's coming bot lane once again. All of the priority here as Lei wants to answer. Mark gets himself out with a dredge line and TPs across the board. Here's Holder looking for Mark by himself here. Warrior Trickster ain't enough though. Everyone here from LGD and Harrow's mid lane.
I mean, there's nothing to say about that, Munchables. That's just Holder making a mistake, is punished by Longshing, also coming in with TP. You've already pointed out, we can all see it. Haro is not bot side, so 5v4 for Rogue Warriors regardless. The other three members of Rogue Warriors realized that, backed off accordingly. But Haro at least going to get something back by stealing some of Peanut's jungle.
He got a mid-wave as well, which I know a lot of junglers rejoice at the very idea of a mid-wave. So, Haro... Oh, no. God. The mid-wave wasn't worth it after all. There's a gold card from Xie and Peanuts here as well. Nice easy kill there. Wuji a little bit late on the ult for a second time this game.
For a team who we criticized for not being decisive and proactive in Game 1, that was an extremely decisive and proactive play. Though it does come down to them punishing Haro's mistake, not necessarily them having set up a play, so...
But it's worth mentioning as well that, sure, we were criticizing them for proactivity in game number 1 of this series, but that's not been an issue of LGD this split. Like, when we think about LGD in summer, I don't necessarily think that this is a team that's going to sit back and do nothing for most of the game.
The one thing that scares me is, at least in recent series, we have started going down that rabbit hole. Against OMG, I remember that game 1 where the team just stood looking at each other in front of Elder Dragon for so long. So I hope LGD doesn't fall into being one of those teams that does get, you know, shy on stage or, you know, however you'd like to spin it. But at least that play, extremely good and decisive coming out from LGD.
It does feel like their more recent series especially have been shakier, with them losing 0-2 to Suning, 1-2 to JDG as well, and even at the series you mentioned against OMG. We're going to have a knock-up onto Mark here, and he's going to be able to do nothing, but a stopwatch keeps him alive for now. Kramer forced to flash away as the spawn goes down. In goes Longshing, and the Galio on top of everything, but it's only a knock-up onto the top laner, who is taken down with no follow-up from LGD. Now Kramer still has cleanse, so he's going to be okay, but once again, Rogue Warriors win yet another fight.
Yeah, Mark getting caught out with Holder waiting in that brush, so very good from him. It didn't look like the word like set down starting up. It was Rogue Warriors controlling vision in that little choke. And then, right, we see Longshing trying to go in, but Longshing doesn't really have the damage yet to find.
Oh my God. Harrow is going for a 1v1, and you know what? He's got a shotgun. Why not get up close?
Harrow definitely has the damage to look for these kinds of kills, and this is the member we always highlight with this team. This is the member with the most experience on this team, with the most accolades. Like, he's been to Worlds before. Obviously, was a long-standing member of EDG. And Munchables, again, it's not over. There is hope for LGD. They can win this, but just the fact that whether it was 2-1 or 2-0, we came in with LGD being a pretty respectable favorite, and we have Rogue Warriors, I'd say, convincingly leading this series so far is insane.
Well, let's just look at this fight, and then we'll talk about the standings, sorry.
What? So they actually already knew that Holder was here. And, yeah.
And then they commit anyway.
Yeah, and then they committed anyway, and then we see what unfolds in the rest of the fight, and they pick up 2 kills.
So, Peanut positioning to try and make a play onto Holder here. Warrior, Trickster, and Flash available. Mark's going to be spotted, though.
Oh, wow.
Oh, the Sonic Wave. Doesn't, I mean, it doesn't matter, but it was cool.
It was cool, yeah,
he
exactly.
hit it. Nice one. But I want to touch on the point you were making there about the fact that LGD were favorites. And to contextualize, in case you don't watch the LPL regularly, LGD right now, 7th place in the standings out of 17, so above halfway, 5-3, 11-10 in games. Rogue Warriors, on the other hand, they're in 16th place. They're 1-8 in series right now. They only just got their first win of the entire split. Like, this isn't just like a minor favorites. LGD should be winning this, and comfortably.
Yeah, I guess when we just talk about like placements and even expectations in isolation, they are heavy favorites.
They really are.
But looking here, we do have, so we don't have Wuming's ult up, so that's extremely massive. So Rogue Warriors just want to buy a bit of time for this. It looks like it's about to come up. Jung Wooji has ult available as well. I mean, once again, when it comes to these straight-up 5v5 team fights, I just don't feel like LGD's comp has the front line to deal with what Rogue Warriors can put up. We have Braum for disengage to buy time. We have Great CC coming out from Wuming. Longxing needs to be able to find a flank.
Well, he's a little bit far away to do that right now. Has the Ghost to get into the fight as well, and he's going to exactly use that alongside his Lightning Rush. Dragon started up, but it resets here, so LGD have bought themselves a little bit of time.
Ooh, Holder, though, is actually the one who's threatening a flank.
He's threatening a way in here. Just going to get onto Longxing and find a 1v1 between the top laners as late. Forced out of the play on the bottom side. Wuming using that Zhonya's, but he's going for Longxing himself. This is looking good for LGD right now. Kurt called to force everyone else away. Wuming over the wall as is Holder, and Peanut gets to go on towards this Dragon now. The re-engage from Rogue Warriors, though, taunt onto Kramer, but Mark is there to support his AD carry. But Mark somehow surviving this one. Now Xie off on the side, and Wuji's left alone in the fight. Suddenly 3 kills come out from LGD.
Yeah, overall, that was a bit of a question mark coming out from Rogue Warriors, forcing an isolated 1v1 on top side, where we've already talked about how Kennen obviously does quite well in the Wukong because of the AP. And great job by Xie to follow up and kind of guarantee that pick, which led to LGD to be able to take that fight in the Dragon, but it wasn't really much of a team fight. It was a bunch of like chaos and picks just happening in a very like close area.
Yeah, it was like 4 different skirmishes happening right next to each other, which some would argue is a team fight. But you know what? It was very spread out, I think is the point.
We see Holder looking for a flank. I feel like here he goes in to try to bait out Longxing's ultimate and says, hey, then we'll come out ahead in the fight in the end, but Rogue Warriors' other 3 members are also fighting. Holder was like Harrow was walking in between, so he wasn't even part of anything. We see the rest of LGD try to commit to Holder, while Jin ultimate's open, the other members are chunked low, and yeah, it wasn't really a team fight. It was just a big bunch of chaos, which is definitely what LGD would like, since Rogue Warriors are the ones who should want these team fights.
And the fact that Rogue Warriors kind of half committed to the 4v3 at the end there, but it wasn't a 4v3 for long enough, and then they hadn't really committed quite properly anyway, so it basically went wrong in every way that it could have.
I was going to say, that fight was as convoluted as the way we're trying to describe it.
Yes. Agreed.
And, I mean, even Harrow, right? He wasn't a part of either one. He was, like, trying to walk between the 3-man core and Holder.
Which is important because Harrow, this game at least, has been the standout player on Rogue Warriors. He's been the one that is realistically making the plays that are changing this game.
He probably is the most damage on the team right now, between Black Cleaver and Warrior. So he's a very important member to the side of Rogue Warriors. And I mean, now we actually have about a 3K gold lead for the side of LGD. And this composition can kind of play out in a 1-3-1 state, not in the sense that it wants to hard commit to Kennen and Twisted Fate taking turrets, but, you know, trying to guarantee that pressure and move first.
Yeah. One thing I will say, though, in favor of Rogue Warriors is there are plenty of times, courtesy of WE, that we've seen this Ashe Galio composition fall pretty far behind. And it doesn't typically matter if they get the setup right. Like, so long as they're within sort of 5,000 to 6,000 gold in the mid-game, this stack of ultimates from Rogue Warriors still could just win games by itself.
It's still enough burst that, you know, one misstep by Kramer or Xie leads to an Enchanted Crystal Arrow, then a taunt, then pretty much Graves' whole combo, and you're just dead.
Harrow moves up to the top side once more, but there's a ward in the Tri-Brush he doesn't know about, and you can see Kramer and Mark would love to close the gap there and get in, but they're spotted by Jungwoo-ji with the Hawk shot. In the meantime, Peanut's on the bottom half of the map right now, so there's no way for him to get in towards this play. Both top laners have the teleport, but it's the mid lane that the fight could be happening here. Destiny's a little bit too far away from Xie. Lay's having to block a lot of this. They're going to turn things around, go straight onto Xie. I can't believe they just pulled that one out of nowhere. And now the follow-up, trying to get on towards Mark. Dredge line going to be available, but it's right on the wall in front of him. Cyclone across two. There's Peanut. I don't think he's going to get away with this one, but ward hop over the wall, and Harrow here to try and chase this one down. Holder won't pull the trigger on the chase, but now straight towards the mid lane. They're still 5 members strong.
Oh, wow.
And they found Kramer as well under the tower. 2 summoners out of the AD carry on top of everything else.
Man, Wuming looks great, but what happened to Lei after getting benched? We see him come back in, and like you said with that pick on Xie, I don't even know how they pulled that out of nowhere. Just knowing they had just the right amount of damage, having confidence that the other members would get there in time, and finding such a beautiful pick.
Look, me and Dagda were talking about it in the last Rogue Warriors series, the hyperbolic bench. As soon as you get benched on Rogue Warriors, you come back 10 times the man you were.
He's in a really awkward position right now, but still the confidence from Rogue Warriors is saying, hey, we have enough damage, we'll burn him out. We're not afraid of Mark and Peanut being postured right here. Following up, Holder comes in. They lock down to Mark as well. Get a nice 2 kills and almost got a kill onto Kramer under turret. Forced both cleanse and flash. And this is what you're talking about.
What did we say literally less than 5 minutes ago? This composition with the Galio with the Ashe, when you're in the right situation, you can just blast these ultimates across a team. It wins fights. It doesn't have to be a head in gold. Just the sheer CC alone wins these fights.
It's like maybe the most relevant new version of like the old school like Season 3 Wombo combo compositions with like Malphites and Orianas, to where, you know, again, you get hit by one layer of CC, you have a ton of AoE CC, a ton of AoE damage and burst just coming out to follow up.
When you say it in comparison to that, it's like, when you think about Galio's ultimate, it has a prerequisite, but then it's just a better version of Malphite's ultimate, right? And across this team, there's a lot of these ultimates that just do insane AoE CC. Just like the new Wukong ultimate, right? It's kind of like the old Wukong ultimate, just way better. Because there's 2 of it. Yep. LGD now, though, have themselves a little bit of an advantage when it comes to timing, and it means that they get onto this Drake first. Holder the one to try and face check this one, or just start a fight. Why face check when you could just kill everyone? Mark going to be knocked up once again as everybody flashing over. Taunt from Wuming, that was beautiful. Mark's going nowhere, and another 2 kills go Rogue Warriors away.
And this goes back to the hyperbolic bench point of Wuming's been on that bench for a long time, Munchables, and he's looking good.
He's been powering up, and you know what? There's a lot of Galio voice lines that match how Wuming is playing right now.
And once again, we are on soul point for Rogue Warriors, and this team just doesn't stop. They keep looking for these aggressive picks, and Kramer and Mark not having a good series. Some could argue not having the best split, but...
And it's kind of surprising, honestly, because during the laning phase, in game number 1, Kramer and Mark looked insane. I was like, holy moly, Mark was hitting every single hook. It looked amazing. And then it's all just suddenly fallen apart. I say suddenly. It's happened over the past hour.
Yeah, and we do see Mark getting caught out. Great arrow coming out from Jungwoo-ji. An amazing taunt coming out from Wuming to lock multiple members down. They all follow up. Longxing not able to get into the fight. Even Peanut kind of off to the side like, well, guys, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And now it's just going to lead to, once again, LGD trying to play around neutral objectives, but doesn't feel like there's much for them to do.
Not for another 4 minutes at very least.
Even Long, like you think about it, right? Long Xing wants to go into a team fight. You want kind of Kramer and Xie in the back. Mark kind of stood next to them, but Long Xing goes in. Braum throws up a shield, tags his passive onto him. He doesn't have Zhonya's yet. He's just going to die pretty quickly. He's still a very squishy cannon. Peanut not having a great way to go in. If any of you go in or Woomin gets onto you, like, you're just dead. You're just taunted, and there's so much burst.
It's kind of a weird situation where we're 26 minutes into this game. There are only 2 tier 1s taken on either side of the board here. Despite the fact that we have this Twist of Fate, this Kennen that realistically can have a good amount of pressure in a side lane.
Yeah, and I mean, we do see the AP Kennen coming out, right? So it's not about, you know, pushing in the side lane and looking for this 1-3-1 style. It's a lot more about the team fights. And even Twisted Fate, like, you can't safely go side lane up against Holder. Holder can kill you. He's still a bruiser. You're still a very squishy mid lane mage. It was a lot more of this team fight oriented comp, and even coming out from draft. Like, looking at Rogue Warriors had it looked much more coherent. It looked much better. LGD had this execution burden that they need to pull out, and guess what? Even if you do ult to the side lane with Xie, Woomin can always follow. You'd have to force these windows to where he can't. Speaking of forcing windows, Peanut waiting in the wings. If he can find a great kick on the Zhongwuji, he can lead to something.
Yeah. I have to say, I'm a bit of an expert when it comes to forcing windows. Never really been a Mac man, not a fan of Linux. So pretty much always. I actually had a Mac, and I did force windows. I ran a second drive that was running Windows instead of Mac, just so I could play video games. Because Mac sucks for video games.
I've never had a Mac. Never will.
They're pretty good.
Huh.
Just suck for video games.
Not an Apple person.
Do you want to know the best thing about Mac?
What?
Barely any viruses.
What about Linux?
Barely any viruses.
Huh.
But Linux is a lot harder to use. You have to be... Linux is like the Android of the PC operating system world, where it's like, you have pretty much limitless customization, but you have to know how to do it
I
for
love
it to
Android.
really be effective.
So maybe I'm a Linux man.
Maybe you are a Linux man.
But
it's going to take a little bit of research, though. But you know what? It's pretty good. I used to use Ubuntu. Anyway, moving on. You don't need to know about Ubuntu. Well, you might. If you work in IT, probably know about Ubuntu. But if you don't, forget it. Let's talk about League of Legends, because that's actually why we're here, Lyric. I don't know if you knew that.
Is it really?
I mean, there are bigger questions in the world that we could realistically go into. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, we can talk dimensions here. But in terms of this dimension, I'm here for League of Legends.
Well, Long Xing is going in. Oh, actually, a lot of members of LGD are going in.
Yeah, the Warrior Trickster's pretty good, and here comes Galio as well. Holder's still surviving on this one. There's a taunt under the tower. Wooming! I love watching this guy.
And this is what we said like 2 minutes ago, that, hey, very easy for Xie to ult somewhere. Wooming can always be there as well. It's going to lead to a Baron.
Wooming is giving Teachama a run for his money right now with this Galio performance. Holder's going to be dead, but you know what? That doesn't matter. Baron started off. Peanut is nowhere near just yet trying to get over here to even think about a steal, but he's slowed and denied. Harrow gets the Baron. Rogue Warriors are looking at a 2-0 right now.
And Dragon's up in 30 seconds. Again, that's gonna be Cloud Soul for the side of Rogue Warriors. Holder's going to be up before either member of LGD, so they're going to get on the map, get Vision down. All three of them do have TP, so there will be a way to answer, but I don't feel like it matters. It feels like this is all Rogue Warriors.
And Holder played this so well, just to delay while the rest of his team was on the way.
Yep, great E coming out from him, great use of Clone as well. You already pointed out the Cyclone, and then just setting up 2 great kills for Wooming, just having such outstanding performances on the Scalio.
This is fantastic.
That's Soul.
We talked about momentum, right? We heard Harrow saying, look, the atmosphere in the team is so much better since getting that win over DMO, and you can feel it here in this game. And, you know, there's a lot of post-match threads I've seen where LGD fans are like, look, hey, we're getting some wins, but it's tough to be a fan of LGD because they're so inconsistent, and we're seeing that as a case study in front of us.
I could say, like, last year, first split in CBLOL, my team Flamingo, we went 20-1 in the regular season. And a lot of like team issues just got pushed to the side because you're on the high of winning all these games. They don't matter. You're winning.
I thought you were just going to drop that as a random brag there.
No.
I wasn't sure if it was relevant or if it was just like, hey, by the way.
How's Coach Flamingo?
Yeah, I just want you guys to know we did pretty well. Went to Worlds once.
Hey, we actually lost that split, so it's not much of a brag. That's the point, though, too, is like once you lose and you go down that mental rabbit hole, things get really bad really quickly.
And, yeah, I mean, that opens up that conversation of if you do win your region super, super hard when you get to international competition, if you start losing games, you have to learn how to lose.
Well, exactly. So when we were in our final and we lost our first game, things got scary. You don't know how to handle it. How do you recover from there?
And this, we're setting this conversation up because Rogue Warriors easily could end up in that situation this split. Although, they have had 8 series to learn how to lose so far.
Yes,
so
yes, they have. If there's anyone who knows how to lose, it's these guys.
They've been practicing. It feels like it was a strategy, honestly, for most of this series, this split. But you know what? No longer, Lyric.
It's like TFT where you just lose, like, you know, all the first rounds to gain that gold.
LGD making some moves here. Shie.
Get in the scuttle crab. Let's go.
That's the kind of action we're looking for.
Emotes in chat. Though I don't think we have Shie emotes.
PP Giggle is going to have to do because it's the only player-specific one we got. I think there's a FLICKR one. I don't know what it is, though.
You know, put whatever emote you want. But
Shie
got the scuttle.
He certainly did.
And I mean, realistically, anytime Rogue Warriors group up as 5, they're going to win. Like, they're going to win any of these fights. We need to see LGD force a pick, but that's not up to LGD, right? It's up to someone on Rogue Warriors to be caught off in a side lane. Even now, if they all commit to mid to kill Holder, well, Rogue Warriors are just going to get so much on the top half of the map.
And once again, we find the situation where Rogue Warriors get themselves the Baron, they get themselves all of the tier 2s around the map, and then they get to reset. This time, though, Elder's up in 3.5 minutes.
Let's also remember that a lot of LGD's wins came from putting Kramer on these late game carries and playing around his mechanics and team fights. That was always like the highlight of Kramer, and it feels like you're really not, you know, the WE argument, right? You're not accentuating your strength when you're not putting Kramer on what he's kind of really carried your team on.
I would say Jin does pretty well in the late game team fights, like especially if you can get onto the right targets. It's more a matter of these team fights, like you said in the first one at Dragon, right? They're not real team fights in that straight sense. It's not like front to back here. They're so chaotic and there's so much CC that is hitting Kramer as I speak. It was a great cleanse, but it's not going to be enough with a Cyclone on the back line. Lunching, doing what he can, but he can't get onto Jungwoo Ji. He's going to fall as well. The Lightning Mouse goes down. There goes Twisted Fate as well. Straight towards whatever they want at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, they could honestly just go push down mid.
Haro wants a 1v1. That's what he wants, Peanut. It's just getting chased out of his own jungle here. Collateral damage to get over the wall. I feel like that could have killed the enemy jungler, honestly. But you know what? He gets it. They're going into the base. Rogue Warriors, Lyric, I can't believe my eyes. They're 2-0ing LGD.
Rogue Warriors are going from an 8-series lose streak to a 2-series win streak, Munchables.
Rogue Warriors are going to Worlds, ladies. Wait, hang on, no. I'm getting overexcited. But hey, they've got themselves their second series in a row. 2-0 for Rogue Warriors.
Look, I'm just saying, Rogue Warriors is like the epitome of the LPL. They play fast, they play fun, they play messy games, they're willing to go out and do whatever.